T-SQL supports two statements that can be used to erase data or records from a table. Hi, this is Mina. In this video, we are going to talk about the delete and truncate statements in SQL Server Management Studio and the differences between them. The truncate statement is used to delete all records or all data from the table. However, the table structure or the table itself still remains. And the syntax for truncating data from a table is you type out the word truncate, the word table, and then you provide the name of the table. So it's truncate table, table name. Next, to delete records from a table is to use the delete statement. This is used to delete either all records from the table or some part of the records from the table. The syntax for deleting records from the table is you type out the word delete, the word from, and then you provide the table name. This first part of the delete statement will delete all records from the table just as the truncate statement. However, if you provide a condition by typing in the where clause and the condition, it means that you only want to delete part of the records from the table. So for instance, if you type out where column name equals to 1, it means that you want to delete records where column name is equal to 1. So you can delete part of a record using a delete statement. Let's move on to our SQL Server Management Studio and see how these statements work. I'll connect to my SQL Server Management Studio and go to New Query. I'm just going to paste the syntaxes here for truncate and delete. All right. One thing I want you to notice is that whenever you open a new query, the default database is set to master. Master is a system database. So what you have to do is to switch over to the database you want to work in. Here we are going to work in our student record database. So you can go to databases, and this is the database that we'll be working in. I can type out the word use and then type the database name and execute this command. So our database is now set to student records database. Instead of using code, you can also click on this drop down arrow and select the appropriate database, and it should work the same way. All right, so in our student record database, I'll go to tables, and these are the tables that we have in our student records database. And these are the tables that we are going to be truncating and deleting data from. Let's go ahead and see what records we have in these two tables. I would right click on the instructor table and select top 1000 rows. We have 8 records in our instructor table. Okay, let's see what we have in our student table. I'd right click and select top 1000 rows. We have another 8 records in our student table. Now let's truncate the instructor table. So we type out the word truncate and table, and then we provide the name of the table, instructor table, just as the syntax tells us to do. Truncate table, table name, truncate table, instructor. Execute this command. You can also click on F5. Command completed successfully. Okay, so in our instructor table, these are the records we had in our instructor table before truncating it. Now, if we select top 1000 rows, we should see that all these records have been erased from this table. However, the table structure, which are the column names, the instructor ID, first name, last name, email address, gender, should still remain. So now that we've truncated our table, let's see what records are left in our instructor table. See, all the records are gone, but the table structure is still there. Okay, let's insert data back into our instructor table and see how the table structure would look like. I already have the syntax here to insert data back into my instructor table. And this is the insert into statement that I'm going to execute. If you want to learn how to write the insert into statement in T-SQL, feel free to watch my previous video in the link above. I've also provided the same link in the description section. So I'm going to execute this command multiple times to insert data back into our instructor table. We've inserted 2 rows now. Let's click some more to insert more data. Okay, now we are going to select top 1000 rows again to see how many data has now been inserted back into our instructor table. See, we have inserted 8 rows again, and the instructor ID still started from 1. That is one unique property of the truncate statement. Whenever you delete table records with the truncate statement, you can still insert data into the table with the identity numbering still starting from 1. We can insert more data into the instructor table to see with it 2 more rows, another 2 more rows, and let's execute this command. See, we've inserted back into our table and the numbering still continues. Okay, let's move on to the delete statement. With the delete statement, the syntax is type out the word delete from table name. Let's delete the student table this time. Okay, if we execute this command, all the records in our student table is going to be deleted, just as the truncates worked. Let's take a look at how the table itself looks like before we execute the delete command. So we're going to select top 1000 rows from the student table. We have 8 records here. Pay attention. We have 8 records in our student table. The student ID, which is the identity column, starts from 1 to through to 8. We are going to delete all the records from this student table using the delete statement. So let's do that. 8 rows affected, which means that all 8 records have been deleted from our student table. Let's execute this command to select top 1000 rows from our student table. See, the table structure still remains, but all the records have been deleted. Now let's insert data back into our student table. We are going to execute our insert into statement. Let's insert it 5 times to get 10 records this time. Okay, so we are going back to select top 1000 rows and see how many data has been inserted back into our students table. All right, so see the student ID, the numbering for the identity column continued from where it ended. The last ID was 8, and so now that we've inserted data back into our student table, the numbering has started from 9 and it continues in that order. This is what you get for deleting records from a table using the delete statement, unlike the truncate. According to Microsoft.com, the truncate statement also works faster when executed compared to the delete statement. So these are 2 differences between the delete and truncate. First of all, the numbering for truncate will restart after you reinsert data into a table, whereas the delete will continue from the last numbering in the identity column. And also truncate is faster when executed compared to the delete statement. One more difference is between the truncate and delete is that you can provide a condition by typing the where statement. So if I want to delete specifically just this row of data, I could provide a condition and say where student ID equals 9. So I'm going to type out where student ID equals 9 and execute. One row affected. So with the delete statement, we can specifically delete just a record from the table and all the other record will still remain. Let's execute the command to select top 1000 rows and see what is left for this student table. See, the record for the student ID 9 has been deleted. So we now have our student ID starting from 10 and the rest of the data still remains. We cannot provide a while condition when we use the truncate statement. Let's say we want to truncate instructor ID 1. So we type out where instructor ID equals to 1. This should give us an error because truncate statement does not accept a where condition. So as you can see, even this clause has been underlined, which tells us straight up that this code is not going to work. See, incorrect syntax near the keyword where. Okay guys, this brings us to the end of our tutorial on truncating and deleting data from a table. Thank you for staying along with me on this tutorial and see you in my next one. Bye bye.